Here we are. We got me in the left part of the screen. This is pretty funny. Okay.
This is a different way to go shoot a webinar.
This is certainly a different way, and we're going to make this work. Okay. James Osmar, welcome from SellingToolz, Gold Rush Leads. You've been in this business, this real estate business, for an awful long time. Tell me your story. Where are you from? What started you in real estate? Why did you get started in real estate? And the difficulties you started with.
You know, I once read a book it was by Tony Robbins, and he talked about how people are moving away from people or moving towards people. You either move towards what you want, your goals, or you move away from something that you're not comfortable with. I grew up in Northern Ontario, right in the top of Lake Superior. It was cold up there. I mean, it was so cold up there that when you went into a house party as a teenager, people would move away from you because you radiated so much cold. So I moved to Southern Ontario, to London, Ontario. And when I got there, what am I going to do now? And I thought, well, university seemed to be a pretty good option. I went to university, studied marketing. And then after I graduated university, I went, well, what am I going to do now? And right around that time, real estate was an option. The stock market was an option. And this was back late 88, early 89, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly, but the stock market crashed. And that made real estate a very viable option.
It was actually October 13th, 1988.
October 13th, 1988. And you remember that date, why?
It was actually the day, it was actually 2 days. It was the Columbus Day weekend, and my wedding was on the 11th.
Well, there you go. That's an easy day to remember for many reasons, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also one to forget as you go forward, too.
Pardon me?
It's also one to forget as you go forward, too, if you know what I mean.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Well, I've had a couple forget-me-nots, too.
Anyway, so go ahead.
My journey through life, I've had a few forget-me-nots myself. But I ended up going into real estate, and it scared the hell out of me. I was absolutely mortified at the thought of having to call my friends. And I remember the first broker I worked with, he told me to write down a list of everybody I knew, and I had 103 people that I knew on a list well enough that I could call them a friend and call them, and hopefully that they would do business with me. So that was my start. And back then we didn't have technology. Fax machines weren't even much of an option. My office had 11 satellite offices. They would only have one fax machine. That's how archaic technology was back then. So I got my license, I wrote down that list of names, and I thought, I can't call these people, so I sent them mail. I very soon got into a long journey of sending mail for the rest of my career, and in every mailing, I could pull a few deals on a small list. That list at one point was 300 people, and I would pull 3 or 4 deals in a small list over the years. And when I commercialized the list, when it grew to about 3,000 people, I started doing metered stamps, labels, logos on envelopes and stuff like that. My return dropped to 0.
Wow.
So I went back to thumb stamps, rolling my mail through with non-labels, and I was back to 3 or 4 deals every mailing, every quarter, just off of one little system like that. So it's kind of cool how that can work. But I spent 3 months on the couch in the fetal position, and I was mortified of having to get on the phone and call people. At some point, something triggered, and I thought, I'm either going to be a deadbeat, I'm going to be a loser, I'm going to feel all bad about myself. I'm not going to be much of an asset to my family, or I'm going to go out and be a provider and a winner. And it drove me because I wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to be the Superman in the market. I set my goal at a couple hundred deals. Back then, a couple hundred deals was a lot of deals. Smaller teams, not a lot of technology. Now I see teams with 25 people. That's really an office, I think, more than a team.
Yeah.
However, I have a small team, small satellite of people, and we're doing 175 deals a year. And it really was the catalyst of getting off the couch and starting to get on the phone and convince myself that nothing really bad's going to happen. They're not going to reach through the phone and smack you. They can tell you to F off or something, but really not many people do, and who cares if they do? They've actually done you a favor. You can move on to the next one real quick, as opposed to wasting an hour talking to somebody who's never going to buy or sell.
Right.
So I had all of these positive thoughts to get myself through that. And somewhere along the way, somebody gave me some technology. You know, and my first event in technology was a Betamax. It was that long ago. I didn't even buy VHS, and it was so hard to set up because they could only allow you to program 12 channels.
Right.
And it was so complicated and so hard. I ended up breaking down in tears. I was all by myself in the living room saying, I just want to watch television. You know what I mean? It was so difficult. And then I progressed to getting the first computer at Remax back then. The very first guy with a computer. And I looked at it, it was DOS, and all I did was looked at it and expected miracles to come out of the computer because that's how little I knew about technology. I eventually got top producer DOS. It was a nightmare to learn. I had an assistant from college who came in, and she helped me learn it over 2 months to train myself and then to train her. Then Windows appeared, and we got top producer Windows, Agent 2000 Windows, and I took my paper management system and carry it to this day with the CRM that we have built with LeadBooker. And it's quite fascinating now, the things that you can do with that type of technology.
Right.
You know, if they manage, you can not just manage anymore and send email, you can see who's looking, you can see when they're looking, it'll send them their favorites, you can text message to them, you can auto text message to them, you can send voicemail. So all of this stuff has gone a long way from paper. My first year in the business, I called everybody I knew and I asked them for their email address. I went out and I interviewed the top 10, did the interview. I introduced myself and I got the top 10 agents in the city, and I went out and I started asking them for advice. Started with the number one person and worked down. One of them told me to get the book List More, Sell More by Jerry Bresser. It was a book on chasing for sale by owners. And I did 33 deals that year. And that was after 3 months on the couch in the fetal position. And back in the paper days, and I see people share numbers today, and I think the numbers are, you know, I know some people who've done big numbers. One gentleman I know who did 180 deals in his second year in the business, and he told me straight up he only netted $20,000, but he did go on to sell 500 deals. Good lesson in that is that spend all the money you can on building your brand and your business and bringing in business as much as you can handle.
Well, of course. I mean, you've got people that it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right?
At one point it is. I believe that is so true that you have to at one point start saving money, but somewhere along the line you have to spend a lot. I remember watching a speaker. I don't know if I should mention names or not.
You can mention anything you want.
Oh, Craig Proctor, and his one time he was on stage and he said he spent 60% of everything he made on his business. And he was doing $1 million. And the whole audience almost crumbled, and they go, oh, because everybody's trying to keep all their money.
Right.
You know, as opposed to spending it back on their business. If you're not marketing, you're not making money because you don't stay static. Like, I mean, you can't go out and do 20 deals a year and go, yeah, I do 20 deals a year unless you're promoting yourself somehow and looking for more business and communicating with people.
Absolutely.
It's not about closing people. I believe closing's overrated. At one point, you can close because people want to be closed. But in the early stages of meeting people, you have to build a relationship with people. And so you're going to connect. And what we've done is built out systems. The technology helps you build relationships because I don't believe that on the first phone call you have any right to ask them how much money they make. I don't think that you should ask a person if they're working with a realtor. As soon as you ask that person if they're working with a realtor, they can lie to you and blow you off. And then if you follow up again and you look schmarmy when you ask them, you know, if you're interested in looking at a home, well, I've already told you I'm working with a realtor. So I believe you should just follow up, educate the people on how to use your system because these systems let them look at homes off of your website. And there's the magic because now you have the common focal point where you can introduce, talk to people, keep in touch with people. I believe today that you should take all of your emails that you send people, incorporate video or voice into them. Like we built an iVoice cast system.
Right.
So that when you're burned out, you can take a text message and everybody's first call is the same. Let's face it, when you follow up on a person, your first call, the absolute same every time, almost. So if you can't get a hold of people because they're screening your calls, you can't get a hold of people because you're in an appointment, you're on a day off. I talked to a girl yesterday, she said, yeah, I don't like the return calls on Sundays when I'm out on my sailboat. Well, she's just off the waterfront of Toronto. Voice casting is perfect. That first call that you're touching on people, you have to touch on people within 10 minutes. They say 100% higher opportunity of engagement if you follow up on a person within 30 minutes.
So what?
You should follow up within 10, follow up again in 30. If they're screening you 3 hours later, send them a voice cast.
What's a voice cast?
Build in other tools.
What's a voice cast?
You're going to say something. Please.
What's a voice cast?
A voice cast is, well, we've all heard, I'm sure some have heard of other technologies that will send a ring, they call them a ringless message, but it's not really to you. The phone rings and hangs up and then leaves them a voicemail.
Right.
I don't like that because if it rings and it leaves you a voicemail, you're confused because it rings. And what if you're burned out and you don't want the person to call you back yet? You're Sunday on the sailboat and you don't want to be called right now.
Right.
You send a voicemail. It goes to into their voice message, their text message box. They get a voicemail. They hear your 45-second intro call. My basic intro call is, hey, it's James here. I just wanted to reach out as a courtesy just to see that you got the email that we sent you. And then from there, the live call, I leave there's about 5 answers. Yes, I didn't know. I didn't expect the calls. Not interested, whatever. Well, you can always follow back again. Then, well, as I say, it's just a courtesy. I just wanted to let you know that we've sent you an email with a link direct to your search profile. Well, the system automatically redirects them there anyway, but it's your logic for follow-up as opposed to being the schmarmy salesman and asking them questions and closing them on financing and ask if they work with a realtor. Now, as soon as you ask if they work with a realtor, you cut yourself off at the knees to build your relationship with them, to that person who's just sitting on the fence thinking about the realtor down the road. Now, if they say that you have 80% of your deals come after the 6th conversation. So if you have 6 conversations, you have text message, email, and voice to converse back and forth. And it's not just touching them and hitting them with an email. It's a conversation that comes back and forth.
Right.
I have a lady over near about an hour away from where I live, and she's totally afraid of the phone. One of these people that'll probably never get over it, but she chose real estate.
Right.
She's an introvert. So in the days before voice cast, I suggested email. So she started the email conversations. She's a small agent in her office. They had like 3 leads a week kind of a thing. And she started conversations with email. She's doing a deal a month off email. Just by sending messages and building up the relationship, it's a dozen deals a year. That's already double average. And most people, they get a call. I see people that call once. Well, the person said they weren't interested. When's the last time you went into a car lot or a furniture store or clothing store and the salesperson approached you and you said, we're just looking?
You're there to buy. I mean,
it's our salesperson wall response. It's our block. It's our natural block.
Right. You're there to buy, right? You're there. But
you've got a hole in your pocket.
Right. So I want to address a couple of things. But first I want to tell everybody that, we had some tech difficulty today. We're doing this a little bit different today. So if it's unclear, I apologize, but here we are. This is Real Estate Talk, TGIF, episode 65. And you all know what TGIF stands for, right? Thank God it's finale. That's right. It's Friday, but this is finale. Anyway, back to our show. I wanted to make a comment. You talked about a couple of things. You talked about talking to people you know, getting on the phone, but you also said one other thing about sending letters earlier. That you would send that you sent letters, or someone said send letters and had the logo on it.
Well, in my mail program, I would go through stationery stores once in a while. I'd see them closing out, or anytime I was going through a store, I'd see them blowing off ends. So you could buy the mail, the envelopes were dirt cheap, and as long as they were within the legal size of the mail system, I would send out my mail without a return address. Because as soon as you put a return address on it, those people could then just screen it and throw it in the garbage because they knew it was you. I never pitched people in my mail. I always made it interesting and story and conversational. However, I do know that there was a notable drop in return when I put a logo on, and they knew it was a realtor.
That's why I asked the question.
I did it once a year to clean my list. So once a year I would do a list cleaning, and that kept my mail very responsive. Average, even with a small list of a few hundred people, I was doing 3 to 4 deals every quarter. So I would only do physical mail quarterly. I then built a list of people that were my affiliates, I call them, lawyers, home inspectors, all of these people. I expected them combined 5 people on a sheet of paper to pay for 50% of that mailing. So my mailing, if it cost at that time $300, they paid $150. When it was up to $3,000, they paid $1,500.
Right.
So it cut my cost of mail in a very significant way.
So let's get back to when you got started and the conversations and the relationships and building that is so very important. and to contact, the amount of how fast to get them. Speed to lead, as you mentioned, is so very important. But in our conversation earlier this week, we were talking about what are the things, when you got started, you weren't sure what to do, right? So how did you get started? How did you build your business, and how did you find out how to do stuff? You there?
I read every book I could.
Did you get involved with any other realtors?
I read every book I could, but I just, some of it. Oh well, when I initially I went out and I got a list when I was interviewing to go work at offices. I was interviewing them because every office will hire you pretty much. I asked the person for the list of the top 10, and they gave me the top 10 realtors in town. So I went back and I called up a few of the agents. Well, they're flattered by it. And I took them for lunch. If you're going to bring a person up for lunch, it's not a time of day where people get into heavy drinking and bottles of wine and stuff. So it's a very inexpensive time of day to bring people out. You got 1 hour of their undivided attention.
Exactly.
Teach you stuff.
Exactly.
And this is where the gentleman told me to get list more, sell more. Back then, he had developments, condo developments, and he was doing close to a couple hundred deals a year. So he was a good guy to talk to. And then when I started the mail, it was one of my managers said, list. Well, it made sense then in the first year in the business. If I'm going to, they call it indoctrination. I don't like indoctrination. The word sounds harsh somehow. But what it is you're building loyalty, you're building brand, you're building a community within your circle. So when people got your mail once a month, and then after a while I put it every 3 months because now that people knew me, then there was also email once a month at that time. So every 2 weeks they were getting something from me. Email was starting back then, and people were opening your email. Now long-term email only has a 14% open rate.
Right.
When people sign up to get listings, it's very high. It's like 90%. But it'll drop off over time because people know, and the reason being, I believe, is many people are pitching all the time. They're not bringing just value and conversation to the contact. And if people do that more often, if you tell your story, for example, people are going to be more interested in that than if you try to close people and pitch people on how to clean closets. It's your story is going to be more interesting to them. So if you're like in the early days, I don't even remember. There were a very famous Hollywood company that was teaching a thing on writing brochures at the time. Remember, this is old technology.
Right.
I had a brochure, and in there they said, you have to tell a story about yourself, about your history, who you were. So I told them about who I was. I had 3 kids, and I grew up in Northern Ontario, and I moved here. I moved away from coal. I moved away. I went to college at one point from a millwright. I realized I didn't want to do that. The good thing about going to school sometimes is you go to school to find out what you don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Forward, if you are going to go and build your story around people like to work with the people that they feel like they know. They like, know, and trust. We've all heard this before. Well, there's a lot of relevance there. And if you can tell something that's really poignant, from a point of pain even, how you struggle to get to where you are today, people are going to buy and eat that up like crazy. If you're speaking to a live audience, and as soon as you see people start to play on their phones, I was listening to this yesterday these guys that I was listening to yesterday, they're like making $50 million a month.
Wow.
And this guy's talking, and this is not a realtor, this is a person who's an online marketer. And he said, as soon as you see people that are losing attention, he says, just stop right there and tell them, I got a story I want to tell you. And people will just stop. It's a very personal story, and they will listen to you. So if you take some of that, so I think that today real estate agents can blow the socks off in their market. In the social media thing, people are always posting pictures of houses I see with no links back to the list, their website. I mean, I see people on their websites posting Facebook, but I don't think you want to bring people off your website to Facebook. You want to bring people off Facebook to your website.
Exactly.
You do this sense of community, the sense of story, and you bring people back to your website, and the people do that more often. And the other mistake I see people do on social media is they don't post enough. So I'll see a person, for example, post, like they've got 5 listings, and they'll post a picture of that listing once. And that's it. Next listing once. Well, the listing will have 20 photos. They should be posting each 5 listings every day with a different photo. They should have a blog, a list of blog articles. If you had 30 blog articles, and even written by someone else, it doesn't matter, and you every day shared a new article, well, 30 days later, you can share the same article because not everybody is going to see that article when the first time you post it anyway.
That's right.
And then, of course, we know the bumps and Like we're doing a coming home soon campaign. The coming soon websites right now are crushing it. They're crushing it. It's not just posting a picture of your listing and boosting it. It's an actual funnel that pushes them to your website. And on the website, then you have your coming soon listings. We have people. I have a gentleman, Lino Archie's his name. He's like number 60 in the world. So he's always got 7 or 8 coming soon listings on his website. We're pushing stuff in the same market on Google. The cost per lead is about $10. They're $2.80 with Facebook doing this campaign. You know, I got a gentleman up in another market, the London, Ontario market, and he was pushing out $1 a lead. Same market was $8. That's the difference in cost. And so it's not enough just to market. You have to market when you're doing these digital campaigns. But people getting to know you is one form of marketing and branding. Your cost of return on your leads is another, that direct response style marketing. And if you watch your money there, you don't want to have so many leads that you can't keep up. Yeah. I remember when I was younger in the market, I would buy the back of the London Free Press. It cost me this is 20 years ago, it cost me $2,500 a weekend for one ad, one big full page ad. First time I did it, I got so many calls, and I was a lone agent without assistance. I mean, I had one administrative assistant. I got 50 or 60 calls on Saturday morning. There was no way I could keep up with that.
Right. So
I ended up I don't know if I even closed a deal because I spent so much time trying to communicate with everybody. Where I would have been better off to run an ad, get 2 or 3 leads and work them. So now I try to coach people with this system as you build a relationship, you run enough ads so that you're getting a couple leads a day and you have a regular flow. So now you have your regular day. You get up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and for 2 hours an evening you call. Saturday morning, 11 to 12, call. There's your calls for the week. If you did that every week, you'd be making a couple $100,000 a year just doing that.
And that's just getting good leads. That's just getting good leads and spending the money and doing the right targeting. Is that correct?
Yes. You're targeting, you're getting leads. See, 50%, I have some interesting statistics because it's all about numbers. If you know your numbers, well, you have light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And if you take a look at 50% of people will move after 18 months. Like, think of that. 50% of people that sign up on your website will move after 18 months. The average person takes 22 days to select a realtor that they're going to work with. Because they're looking around, there's so many options out there. So you want to impress upon them somehow, not close them, impress upon them that you're the selection. So their average person takes 6 phone calls, 6 conversations before that's the average agent. 80% of the deals happen after the 6th conversation. So if you start looking at 22 days, 6 conversations, now that person's going to choose you after 22 days. They might not move for a year, but they chose you. Somewhere in their psyche, they chose you. So you want to do things right, educate, pull the person, find out what their buying pattern is. Tony Robbins once said, you have people who are now people, they're going to buy right away. I was a little like that. I one time saw a Cadillac on the net, and I went out and bought it the next day. I wasn't even thinking of a car. Other people, you can walk in and go do a listing appointment. If they have a nice car in the driveway, geez, how long did it take you to find that car? Oh, we looked for 2 years. If they're for sale by owner, you might have your work cut out for you. And if that person said, oh, I saw that, like me, and bought it today, well, there's a system. In my for sale by owner system, we registered everybody by phone number, and then we got an interview into the house. This is how important this is. If you're going to chase for sale by owners, you have to get into the house. You have to call them up to view the property and get into the house. I'm not going to cover the scripts. When my first technology came along, there was a software that would download expired listings. It was really cool. Downloaded them automatically. My staff could send them out a physical piece of email. I did 5 emails unbranded. I even copied FedEx, or express mail, FedEx envelope. I was doing 30 deals a year off that simple system without having to talk to anybody. Come listings. So I thought, when I stopped going out to see them, that my deals went to 0 on for sale by owners. Mail didn't work with them because there was already 10 agents getting in the door. So you had to get in the door with for sale by owners, walk around the house, let them know that you're looking for a buyer, while you're in the conversation, find out whatever they have going on, and then you start to drip the follow-up because now they can relate to who it was. They had a face-to-face impression. And faces sell. Faces sell.
So you went you went from doing everything on paper to technology, and then you were using technology, and then you transitioned to what you said the other day, shy boy to boss.
I went from shy boy, to a super seller, basically.
Right.
And 4 or 5 years into the business, I was doing 80 deals, and it wasn't working really super out. I mean, I busted my ass for a long while to build the systems, but once the systems got into play, your work was easy. Like when I would do mail to follow up on people, I started doing corny mail, like, for example, a needle in a haystack. I'd stuff an envelope full of straw. Finding the right realtor was like finding, a needle in a haystack. Well, I had 4 or 5 people who went out of their way to talk to me about this personally. It's actually a funny story. One gentleman told me he got the mail, he could feel something in it, so he opened it up in his car, and the straw went all over everything, and it went into his briefcase. So I kind of thought that was pretty bad marketing if I'm going to have people getting irritated like that. Other people told me they were actually looking for a needle in the hay, and I thought, okay, we won't run that one. There's a bunch, like
right.
past due. I put past due on an envelope on some of my mail. I would put a stamp past due. The only thing past due is hiring the right realtor. And I had people call me, and they were mad because the mailman would see the past due, and they didn't want to be branded as a guy who didn't pay bills. Another bad idea. But you learn from your bad ideas. You what do they call 86 in the old CB radio land? They 86 them, and it doesn't mean chuck it. Well, I would chuck them and keep the good ones. And it only takes a few really good ones, a few really good systems to blow it out into orbit. Like, for example, when I talk about the expired listings, 30 deals. Another system I put together was I had my assistants go through every house in town and find out who was an absent owner, a person who owned property who didn't live in the city.
Right.
I think there was like 1,500 names. I would put them on a mailing quarterly. That turned into another 3-4 deals a year. A mailing. So every mailing, I was pulling all these. There was a system. So the person with the most systems will always win, because when something comes along in our jurisdiction one day, they announce that you cannot solicit expired listings. Well, I had 8 systems, so that was only 1/8 of my business.
So one of the things that I go along in my programs is I talk that you need several different systems, or I call them pillars of business. And when you have one, you perfect one, go to the next one, build another one, and that's how you build a business. And then when one's not working, you use the others, just like you said, right? You are SellingToolz, the company, the website company. Tell us about SellingToolz and how that will accentuate an agent's business.
Well, SellingToolz is an interesting thing. I built a company called Canada Referral at one point. It was right around the time of Facebook. Boom, all of a sudden it was like $80,000 worth of signups in like 3 months. It was like, oh, I thought I hit the jackpot. But I didn't build it on the same kind of platform. Then from there, I started looking around at, what else can I do for real estate agents? Well, websites. I was a national, so I built out websites. And then as I sold a bunch of websites, a lot of people would start asking me, and that's SellingToolz with a Z.com too, by the way, SellingToolz with a Z.com. If anybody's interested in this stuff and wants to know more about it, they can go there, because I may drop, I may miss some of the stuff that we're talking about here. So, and I built the websites, that was cool. And then all of a sudden, people were asking me about leads. Could you get me some leads? Can you, do you do that? And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be the lazy way of just sell a whole bunch of websites and okay, that's it.
Right.
Then I realized, technology, it doubles every year and a half, so there's no resting on your laurels. I had to keep building better and better websites, and I truly, honestly believe right now we have one of the best systems on the continent. I have had people, literally 20 people in the last 2 years that have gone out because they hear all these pitches, get pitched by cold callers calling them to move, and come back to me. Literally just today. Today we had, another person who was with me for 2 years left. I've had people leave and go work with me literally when the shortest person was 3 days. The 3 days I left and came back. I've had the first 2 people that ever signed up with me about 12 years ago are still with me. One of them left for 3 weeks. He says, I'm afraid to leave you, James, but I'm going to leave. He said, I think I need you. He called me 3 weeks later. He said, James, I need you. So we back at it, and we drive them traffic. We build out systems. And I got people who have 2 systems. They want one to play with on their own and then one for me. They're bread and butter. Because it's running so well, they don't want to give it up. And so that went from building a Canada referral system, United States referral system, to building websites. The advanced website is now what we have. That's at advancedwebsite.com. And then we build a bunch of plugins. Lead Booker is the CRM. iVoiceCast is the text message technology, which is a manual text. It emulates a missed call. We have ClickDigs, and ClickDigs is a home search app which you give to your buyers for free so that it syncs with your database so you can see what they're looking at. It's a great open house tool because if people come in and they're looking at an open house and you make them sign in, well, half of them lie, to give you a fake number. Well, while they're standing there signing in, all you have to do is say, well, while you're writing that down, I'm going to get my phone here. I'll text you a good free search app. What's your number? As they're writing it. So you're entering it into your phone. Now you have the correct phone number and you text them a free app. And you let them know as they're driving around the neighborhood, they can pull up the houses from the street. And you can see everything that they're looking at. It's just a wonderful way. Now you have something to talk about. And a lot of the stuff that we build is designed to be a communication device. Because as I mentioned in our previous conversation, ABCs, these always be closing, I think is a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
ABCs is always be communicating. If you're always communicating with people, you become that person, that vibrant individual. You become like when people go to church on Sunday, they don't go to church and the next Sunday go to another church, and the one after that go to another church. They go to one church because they like the way the guy did their sermon. Whatever your religion is, and this isn't a religious thing or anything. I heard this one day spoken by another speaker, and I thought that really makes sense. People like to gravitate towards something that they like, so you become that person that they like by giving them items of value. Right. And then when they sign up items of value, you give them items of interest. And an item of interest is like on your blog post, if you're talking about items in your area that are interesting. It can be a restaurant. It could be, what's going on in the park next week. It can be your idea, your philosophy on sales, as long as you're not always pitching people. I see too many realtors because they sign me up on their mail. And then I see them, and I know people who have bought houses, and a month after they bought, they're getting mail on selling again. Are you looking to sell your home? Because the person did a blast as opposed to doing specific email and building a relationship. So you can do a blast by doing good relationship material and communicate with people and keep them in your loop. And as soon as they pull back in, if you've given them, for example, ClickDigs, or they have access to your database on LeadBooker, and they go in and they start looking again, the system pops them up to the top. You see who the most recent is and who the most active is. And that's why you want to train people to go to your website. It also keeps your brand present. I know some people who will say, well, I can do that on my real estate board. Well, yeah, but so can every other realtor. You're not unique then.
So let me ask you a question about websites, okay? I have two questions left. So one is about your websites. So here in the United States, we have that wonderful company, that wonderful marketing company known as Zillow, right? And people seem to be drifting to Zillow, and I actually heard somebody say yesterday that, I just love Zillow. Everything's there that I want. And this guy's going to be getting...
That's the member of the public?
Yes. So the question is... What's that?
That's all normal, but people are also looking for the next best thing. So when we in Canada have Realtor.ca, it's a great website. It's from coast to coast. 90% of the listings are on there. But people, they only buy a house every 7 years. They don't know that. So they go to online and they still click on leads. I have people all over the States that still use this form of marketing. They still go do Google ads and drive them to their website. And then we have ClickIDX for the United States because the States is more complicated than Canada.
Okay.
Canada is one big system. We can, we don't need to go board by board by board. And that's the problem with the United States is you have to set up each board. So we use ClickIDX as our brand for the United States.
Right.
So we're always scrolling listings on the front of the website that look like to the visitor to attract and appeal to those people that you're trying to target, and then the entire real estate board. And once they're there, you train them. You talk to them. If you want to move them over to your board, that's all fine. But this is the system that it is what you use to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's the one that you use to see people who are just looking around for a few days because they were bored.
Right.
The ones that are always coming back, the ones that you can, so you build up relationship at that level. I wouldn't be afraid of those tools. Those websites, sure, they're there, but not everybody knows about them. And they still go around looking elsewhere because they think that there's other places.
Right. So So my one more question is really basic for everybody and free. And we've talked about systems, we've talked about tools, we've talked about websites. the number one place where real estate agents should be able to find customers, be able to build relationships, as you say, with ABC, always be communicating, would you agree that it's the sphere of influence? Would you agree that's where it is, the SOI?
Could you ask that question again?
Sure. We've talked about systems and tools all over the place today, right? We've talked about websites. We've talked about communication tools. We've talked about CRMs and how they should be communicated with. We talked about how to go back to leads and how to connect with leads. What is the number one area where people should be marketing, or the number one group? I say it's the sphere of influence. Would you agree with that?
Well, you're never going to let your sphere of influence go. But if you have a sphere of influence and that's all you work, you're going to go through attrition, and it will eventually deplete. For example, when I built SellingToolz, I was doing 175 deals a year, and I thought, it's time. I was about 46 years old, and I thought, if I have my last kick at the can where I really have the energy to go and build something, because it's a lot of work. You're doing 16, 18-hour days, right? And when you build out for a few years, you have to build out. I had a lot of money to get me through the build years, the build phase. At that time, I did not promote and get engaged with my sphere. I let my team do their thing, and just over time, it dropped. So I stopped being the influential guy in my sphere, but you have natural attrition through people who are moving out of market, people who find their brother got into the business, they met a girlfriend or a boyfriend who's a realtor, that type of thing happens. It's real. So I believe, yes, you have your sphere of influence. That's one engagement process. That's one system. But finding other systems, for example, if you can chase expired listings,
right,
if you can chase for sale by owners, those are all other new systems. You always have to be replenishing the funnel.
Exactly.
You must if you want to grow, because nothing stays the same. I hear people, I do 40 deals a year, I don't have to work anymore. Okay, I'll talk to you in a couple of years. Then they come back, I'm having a bad year. Well, yeah, remember that I'm doing 40 deals, I don't have to work anymore thing. Yeah, can you fire up Gold Rush leads again? Yeah, sure we can. Then that's where it goes. So yes, you always have to. If I were to parachute into your market today, there's some things I would do. My website that I talk about, I would do Gold Rush leads. I would do Facebook GoPro seller leads, as we chase seller leads with GoPro, and it always brings in sellers. And then we would do the coming soon campaign. Facebook is not great in many ways, but it's really good at some things for chasing and targeting those specific targets. Then I would have a banner ad campaign for retargeting, and I would do a postal zone campaign. Postal zone. We got you back?
No, you're back.
Hey, there we go. Technology never ceases to amaze us, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, I'll recap what I was saying. If I were to parachute into your market, if I was a brand new agent with no money, I'd get a list of everybody I knew. If you go into a new market, you know nobody. And I've known people to move from one market to another and do this. Okay, you're going to go to another market. You're going to parachute, and you want to have your website set up, target it with your listings, give it the look and feel you want. Then you're going to get a Gold Rush leads campaign. It's a pay-per-click campaign to target. You can be a small budget, doesn't have to be huge. Then you can do a Facebook campaign for GoPro seller leads and do a coming soon campaign. Every time you get a listing, that's a different strategy where you talk the person into letting you do an auction campaign on the house, and that's the script. And then you have that person tied up for 3 weeks as an exclusive listing. So now you can market that listing to people. You're going to get all the drive-by traffic, all the people who are interested, and they can't get in for 3 weeks. That's all your baby. It's like an exclusive listing. It's like the days before our early MLS. So now you have that. Then I would do tag market banners. I would do postal zone. Pick a postal zone that you want to really be well known in, because it targets everybody in that zone. And then there's just two other campaigns that I would do in the banner ads. And basically, they're a much more proactive style. They'll fit your phone. You know what I mean? $1 a day, and I'm seeing people getting 40,000 views a month. There's so much power out there. And where I got into the postal zone campaign, I had to run a campaign for a political fellow in my city. And I came back. I spent the winters in Mexico, and I came back from. The nice thing about a tech company is you can work anywhere in the world.
Right.
So I came back, and I was here for the summer. And he said, James, I got some news for you. I said, oh, do tell. He said, I'm going to go into politics. I said, oh, you are you? I said, that's an interesting tale. No. He said, yeah, I'm going to be a counselor. I'm running in Ward 8. He said, now, I know you do this voodoo stuff on the internet. I want you to run my campaign. I said, well, what would you do? And I said, well, I would do this on Google with ads, banners, and I would do this on Facebook. We ran the campaign. It was so aggressive, he beat the incumbent. At the after party, he introduced me to Oh, I'll bet you no more than 10 people, somewhere around 10 people at this party as the guy who won his campaign.
Wow.
I just want to introduce you to James here. He's the reason we won the campaign. I thought, well, he said that once, that's flattery. But you say 10 times, there's going to be some meat and potatoes there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I thought, and I was not doing this for real estate. I thought, I have to do this for realtors. This is too powerful a way to get known at a very inexpensive budget. And if I'm going to go into your market and I want to dominate, that's market domination, then I chase for sale by owners first off. First thing out the door I would do is chase for sale by owners. If you can chase expireds in your area, I'd add them to the list too, because you got to go someplace. You got to get in somewhere. If you need business today, where are you going to go? And then I get people say, well, how much time should I spend on the phone? Well, how busy are you? Well, I'm not very busy. Well, then you should spend all day on the phone. You talk until you find someone that wants to buy or sell. And you start introducing yourself and talking and building relationships. You keep your database. Most agents that I see, this is almost across the board, have a very poorly managed database.
Right.
Their database is not managed. They don't keep notes. If I talked to you today and you told me you're going to be interested in moving, in April, and I know 4 Davids, how the heck am I going to remember our conversation exactly unless I keep some notes?
You've got to keep notes. You got to have a database management system to do it.
When I went back in the days of paper, my stack of paper would literally be about 10 inches high, and I had every day I would call all my leads. Like I'd get in, I just worked through the list. I put them in a called list. Then and I had it marked, basically my name, and anybody can do this with a team too. Your name, then you're going to have them marked medium, high, and low, or high, medium, and low. That's it. You want to keep it simple. You can have all these other categories that's going to confuse you for prospecting. Then you have your month broken into weeks. So you have 48 weeks a year. Right now, what are we, September 3rd or 2nd week? I can't remember. So now we go in. I come in on Monday morning. I'm working last week's leftovers and this week's new leads. I can click on my name, click on high, click on this week. Boom, there's my list. And with Lead Booker, I can go dial. And it starts to speed dial all over. Anybody who doesn't answer, I put NA. If I leave a message, I'll put VM and a little bit of a message. And I move on. If I want to talk to you on first call and you're screaming me, voice message. The person who is going to buy, would get more buyers and more sellers to pay attention to them, is the one who becomes most recognized, and that's done with your voice and your video. So the system that we build sends out audio, sends out video. The videos and there's a really cool way to do this. And we use YouTube to do it and tie it into the system. So people see a picture of you, they click on it, boom, the video plays. So if you have 5 videos going out, the mortgage calculators, land transfer, tax calculators, put a little video in there to explain it. It's your chance to be seen in front of people. You just become more known, and by the time you're talking to them, you're already a friend. This
is how we work all of our programs here. James, thank you so much for coming on. We're running into time now. How do people get in touch with you, and how do they find out all about SellingToolz and all the other things we've talked about today?
Easiest way is go to SellingToolz.com.
That's SellingToolz with a Z.
SellingToolz. TOOLZ.
Right.
.com. That's the easiest way.
Awesome.
We go there, and there's 1-800 numbers, and if not, you can email me, or I'll call you, or whatever. If we have more technical problems.
Yeah, technical problems. But one thing we don't have a problem with is this. I mean, I know that's why you ultimately came on, was for the hat. Everybody comes on for the hat. They're all across the continent now. I even have one in England with my friend over there who came on, Stephen Bates. So we're going to get this hat out to you because you've done such a great job today. Thank you so much for being on. Again, guys, everybody, this is James Osmar, SellingToolz.com with a Z. And next week, stay tuned. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to real estate investing for realtors next week with Frank Dippold. So we're looking to do that. James, stay on. Thanks so much for coming on today. And we'll see you real soon. Thank you so much. Go.
That's probably good.
Okay.